Ji-woo was once the top student at his old school, but after entering this elite academy, everything changes. Surrounded by students who are far more privileged, he suddenly finds himself near the bottom of the rankings. His biggest problem is mathematics, the subject that can decide which university a student gets into. While his wealthy classmates can pay for private tutors and expensive study programs, Ji-woo depends on student welfare and has no money for extra help. His math teacher, Mr. Kim Gyun-ho, warns him that his current grades won't be enough for a prestigious university. He even suggests that transferring to another school might be a better choice, but Ji-woo refuses to give up. That night, his roommates give him some cash and ask him to sneak outside to buy snacks and drinks for everyone. Unfortunately, while returning to the dorm, Ji-woo is caught by the night guard, Lee Hak-Sung. The next morning, Mr. Kim pressures Ji-woo to reveal who else was involved, but Ji-woo refuses to betray his roommates. His loyalty impresses Park Bo-ram, one of his classmates. Although his decision comes with a price, he is temporarily expelled from the dormitory. His roommates later try to repay him, but Ji-woo refuses their money. To him, they aren't customers or strangers, they're his friends. The students then complain about how difficult it has become to sneak food into the dorm since Hak-Sung started working there. They jokingly call him the commie officer because he escaped from North Korea, but behind his strict behavior is a completely different story. Hak-Sung visits a doctor who warns him that working overnight is damaging his health. His dependence on sleeping pills has also disrupted his natural sleep cycle. Hak-Sung admits that this job is practically his only option as a North Korean defector. Unless the doctor can somehow find him another position, he has no choice but to continue. When Hak-Sung returns home, his life looks painfully quiet. He feeds his pet turtle, drinks strawberry milk, and spends his evenings solving Sudoku puzzles alone. Nobody would expect this lonely security guard to have anything in common with an ambitious student. The next day, Ji-woo is officially forced out of the dorms. As he leaves, Bo-ram mocks him, saying she thought there might be something special about him. Now, it seems even she has given up on him. With nowhere else to go, Ji-woo returns to his small family apartment. Before his mother arrives from work, he carefully cleans the place. His mother has raised him alone since his father's death, working tirelessly to give him a better future. Seeing her son wearing the prestigious school's uniform fills her with pride. Ji-woo cannot bring himself to tell her that he has been kicked out and has nowhere to sleep. Instead, he pretends that he only came to visit and quickly leaves, claiming he needs to get back before it gets too late. But on his journey back, heavy rain begins pouring down. With nowhere to go, Ji-woo hides inside an abandoned school laboratory. His plan fails when Hak-Sung discovers him. After learning that the boy has nowhere to sleep, the strict guard unexpectedly takes pity on him and lets him stay in his office for the night. While Ji-woo sleeps, Hak-Sung notices the difficult mathematics assignment lying nearby. The boy had struggled to solve it, but the guard quietly picks up the pencil and starts working. By morning, Hak-Sung orders Ji-woo to leave without explaining what he has done. Ji-woo heads to mathematics class, expecting another embarrassing day. But then he opens his homework and freezes. Every difficult problem has been solved, and every single answer is correct. Bo-ram immediately notices the strange change and encourages Ji-woo to show the homework to the teacher, but Ji-woo refuses. Something about these perfect answers doesn't make sense. The mysterious night guard may know far more about mathematics than anyone at this elite school realizes, and Ji-woo is about to discover that the man he thought was just a lonely security guard could completely change his future. After class, Ji-woo rushes to thank Hak-Sung for solving his impossible homework. He begs the night guard to teach him how he did it, but Hak-Sung refuses to explain and simply sends him away. Ji-woo, however, isn't ready to give up. While studying later, he overhears something shocking. Even the private tutors hired by his wealthy classmates are struggling with some of the same math problems. Suddenly, Ji-woo realizes that Hak-Sung's ability isn't ordinary. The mysterious guard may be a true mathematical genius. From that day on, Ji-woo starts following Hak-Sung everywhere, constantly asking him to become his tutor. But Hak-Sung completely ignores him. Then one afternoon, while taking out the trash, Hak-Sung overhears several teachers discussing students from poor families. They talk about welfare students, distant parents, and the inferiority complexes they often develop. Mr. Kim even mentions Ji-woo as one of those students. Soon afterward, Ji-woo approaches Hak-Sung again and asks for help. This time, Hak-Sung gives him a harsh reality check. He tells Ji-woo that transferring schools might be the better option. According to him, Constantly feeling sorry for yourself only traps you inside your own problems. But Ji-woo finally opens up. He admits that what hurts most is watching other students receive opportunities simply because their families can afford them, while he has to struggle for everything. His frustration isn't because he doesn't want to work hard, it's because he knows he could do more if he had the same chances. Something about Ji-woo's honesty changes Hak-Sung's mind. He finally agrees to tutor him, but there is one unusual condition. Ji-woo doesn't need to pay him money, he only has to bring strawberry milk. The next day, Hak-Sung visits his old friend An Gi-cheol, a man who helped him settle in South Korea and now works in North Korean defector support. The two friends spend some time playing board games and talking about their lives. When Gi-cheol gives Hak-Sung some lamps as a gift, Hak-Sung immediately offers to pay for them. He refuses to accept charity, making it clear that he came to South Korea to build his own life. That night, Hak-Sung secretly carries the lamps into the abandoned school laboratory. For the first time, the forgotten room begins to look like a real classroom. But before the lessons begin, Hak-Sung gives Ji-woo 3 strict rules. First, nobody can know about their secret classes. Second, Ji-woo is allowed to ask questions only about mathematics. And third, Hak-Sung will teach him mathematics, but he doesn't want to hear a single word about grades or exams. Ji-woo agrees. Then Hak-Sung gives him his first problem. Find the area of a triangle. Ji-woo solves it almost instantly and points out that it's just a middle school level question. But Hak-Sung calmly draws a complete circle around the triangle. Ji-woo is confused. He thinks Hak-Sung has deliberately changed the problem and complains that it's unfair. But Hak-Sung isn't testing whether Ji-woo knows a formula. He's testing whether Ji-woo understands the question itself. The guard explains that mathematics isn't simply about reaching the correct answer. The real skill lies in understanding what the problem is asking and discovering the right path toward a solution. The process matters just as much as the result. For the first time, Ji-woo begins to understand what Hak-Sung is trying to teach him. Hak-Sung watches him carefully and gives his method a name, Epsilon. The word triggers a memory from his past, taking him back to a much younger Hak-Sung and a friend who once received a beautiful pen as a reward for their academic achievements. But that forgotten memory hints that Hak-Sung's connection with mathematics began long before Ji-woo ever met him, and there may be a painful story behind the genius hiding inside the lonely night guard. Epsilon means something small, insignificant, almost trivial. But for Ji-woo, the word soon becomes connected to something much bigger. After their first lesson, Ji-woo still has nowhere to sleep, so Hak-Sung reluctantly lets him stay at his apartment again. While there, Ji-woo discovers another side of the mysterious guard. Hak-Sung loves classical music and spends his nights listening to old recordings on a battered cassette player. The two begin talking about famous composers, giving Hak-Sung an easy way to avoid questions about his past. But the old cassette sounds terrible, so Ji-woo plays the same music from his phone instead. The crystal clear sound amazes Hak-Sung, and for the first time in years, he falls into a deep, peaceful sleep. He sleeps so deeply that he doesn't wake up until late the next morning. By then, Ji-woo has already gone to class. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim gives the math students some unexpected news. There will be no ordinary final exam. Instead, their performance in the prestigious Pythagoras math competition will determine their results. The students immediately panic. They have only 2 months to prepare, yet Mr. Kim expects them to compete for gold. For Ji-woo, however, this becomes more than just another school assignment. It could be his chance to prove that he belongs among the best students. Every day, Ji-woo secretly visits Hak-Sung for math lessons. His obsession with studying becomes so obvious that Bo-ram starts noticing how often he buys strawberry milk. She jokes about it as if Ji-woo has become addicted to the drink, completely unaware that it is actually the price of his secret tutoring. Then Hak-Sung gives Ji-woo an extremely difficult problem. Ji-woo asks for the technique needed to solve it, expecting his teacher to show him a shortcut. Instead, Hak-Sung tells him to calculate everything manually. Ji-woo spends hours working on it. 1 hour becomes 2, and eventually 3. Finally, he reaches an answer. Only then does Hak-Sung reveal the real lesson. He tells Ji-woo about mathematician Bernhard Riemann, who once calculated dozens of decimal places of the square root of 2 by hand. The point wasn't simply to get the answer. It was to become familiar with every step of the process. According to Hak-Sung, formulas can help you reach an answer, but memorizing them doesn't make you understand mathematics. True understanding comes from struggling through the problem yourself. Then Ji-woo asks the most obvious question. Is his answer correct? Hak-Sung refuses to tell him. He says discovering whether the answer is right or wrong is Ji-woo's responsibility. That's what mathematicians are supposed to do. As the weeks pass, something remarkable happens. Ji-woo's skills improve faster than anyone expected. Problems that once seemed impossible gradually become understandable. For the first time, he isn't simply trying to survive in an elite school. He's actually becoming good at mathematics. But just as his confidence begins to grow, devastating news arrives. One of Jiwoo's close friends, another welfare student, decides to leave the prestigious school and return to his old one. He admits that coming here was never worth the struggle. The news forces Jiwoo to question his own decision. Is he really meant to be here, or is he simply wasting his time trying to compete with students who were given every advantage from the beginning? Bo-ram tries to comfort him, but Jiwoo doesn't take her words seriously. When she claims they're in the same situation, he becomes frustrated. To him, she's still a wealthy student with opportunities he could never afford. Before they can continue arguing, Bo-ram's mother arrives to pick her up. Inside the car, Bo-ram is immediately scolded for spending time with a welfare student. Technically, Bo-ram is also considered a welfare student because her parents are divorced. But unlike Jiwoo, she doesn't receive financial assistance. Bo-ram's problems don't end when she gets home. Her mother also scolds her for listening to piano music instead of focusing completely on her studies. Determined to improve her daughter's grades, she secretly hires Mr. Kim as Bo-ram's private tutor, even though the arrangement is against the rules. That night, Jiwoo tells Hak-Sung about his friend leaving the school. For a moment, he wonders if he should do the same, but Hak-Sung refuses to let him surrender so easily. He tells Jiwoo that success isn't always about being the smartest person in the room. Sometimes, the most important quality is having the courage to keep going until the very end. To prove it, Hak-Sung shows Jiwoo the exercises he recently corrected. Some of Jiwoo's final answers are wrong, but the important thing is that his method is correct. He has finally learned how to think through a problem instead of simply memorizing formulas. That night, Jiwoo's suspension ends and he returns to the dormitory. Yet surprisingly, he admits that he actually misses living with Hak-Sung. The lonely guard has become more than just his secret teacher. The next day, Bo-ram gives Jiwoo a bottle of strawberry milk along with a small apology note. But when Jiwoo gets distracted, she secretly follows him and discovers the abandoned laboratory. There, she finally learns about his secret lessons with Hak-Sung. Instead of exposing them, Bo-ram thanks Hak-Sung for looking after Jiwoo and asks if she can join the lessons occasionally. Hak-Sung agrees, but only if she keeps everything completely secret. Bo-ram casually calls him the commie officer, but the nickname confuses Hak-Sung. He may have come from North Korea, but he was never a soldier. He simply refuses to explain why he was exempt from military service. Just then, they notice several students secretly moving around the campus. But after seeing what happened to Jiwoo before, Hak-Sung decides not to interfere. For once, he chooses to look the other way. Later, Jiwoo asks Hak-Sung a question that has nothing to do with mathematics. Why did he study so hard in the first place? Hak-Sung admits that he originally studied for a scholarship and to help his family. But as he learned more, mathematics began to feel different. He started seeing beauty in numbers, patterns, and logic. Eventually, studying stopped being an obligation and became something he genuinely loved. To show them another side of mathematics, Hak-Sung invites Bo-ram to the piano. He assigns a musical note to each digit and turns the digits of pi into a melody. What seems like an ordinary sequence of numbers suddenly becomes beautiful music. The next day in math class, Jiwoo notices something wrong with one of Mr. Kim's questions. Using the way Hak-Sung taught him to examine a problem, he points out that the teacher's expected solution doesn't actually make sense. Mr. Kim is furious. He tells Jiwoo that it doesn't matter whether his answer is logically correct. What matters in an exam is giving the answer the examiner expects. In other words, students aren't being tested on whether they can think differently. They're being tested on whether they can follow the intended method. Jiwoo refuses to accept that. He confidently says that when the real competition comes, he'll still write the answer he believes is correct. Mr. Kim sees his attitude as disrespectful and orders him to stand outside the classroom for the rest of the lesson. But Jiwoo doesn't back down. After class, he tells Mr. Kim that he has made his decision. He isn't transferring. Meanwhile, Hak-Sung's quiet life receives an unexpected upgrade when his friend Gi-cheol gives him a smartphone so he can be contacted more easily. Hak-Sung is genuinely excited about his new smartphone, proudly showing it to Jiwoo. But Jiwoo quickly notices that the tiny screen isn't enough for the enormous mathematical papers Hak-Sung likes to read. Wanting to help, Jiwoo secretly asks a classmate to get him into the computer lab. He prints an entire research paper and gives the stack to Hak-Sung as a gift. Then the biggest test of the semester arrives: the Pythagoras math competition. Thanks to Hak-Sung's secret lessons, Jiwoo performs remarkably well. But Bo-ram's experience is completely different. She remembers the musical trick Hak-Sung taught her, but as the exam continues, the pressure becomes overwhelming. Unable to cope, she eventually leaves the classroom before finishing. Her mother is furious and decides to keep her at home to avoid the embarrassment. She even tells the school that Bo-ram has gone on a family trip. When Jiwoo tries contacting her, none of his messages receive a response. That evening, Ji-woo and Hak-Sung attend a classical music concert using tickets Bo-ram had arranged for them. Her family's company is one of the event's sponsors, but Bo-ram never appears. Still, the concert becomes a special moment for Hak-Sung. Completely absorbed in the music, he becomes so emotional that tears fill his eyes. For someone who has spent years living alone, the experience seems to awaken something he thought he had forgotten. Afterward, Hak-Sung invites Ji-woo to dinner at his apartment. During the meal, Ji-woo notices something strange. This is the first time he's ever actually seen Hak-Sung eat. That same night, chaos erupts at the school. Someone leaks the Pythagoras exam online, creating a major scandal. The teachers are now under enormous pressure from the education board, and unless they identify the student responsible, their careers could be in serious danger. Meanwhile, Ji-woo and Hak-Sung visit a bookstore. There, a stranger suddenly recognizes the quiet security guard. The man is also originally from North Korea. He looks at Hak-Sung with disbelief and calls him doctor, remembering him from the days when Hak-Sung taught at the university he attended. Then he says something that completely shocks Ji-woo. He calls Hak-Sung a famous mathematical genius. The stranger assumes Ji-woo is Hak-Sung's son, creating an awkward moment. Hak-Sung quickly thanks the man for remembering him and rushes out of the bookstore before Ji-woo can ask too many questions. Back at home, Hak-Sung is overwhelmed by memories of his past. He remembers his son, Lee Tae-yeon, sharing meals with him, buying him strawberry milk, and even getting the turtle that became part of their quiet family life. The memories reveal that the lonely man Ji-woo knows today once had a completely different life. The next morning, shocking news appears on television. A major mathematical breakthrough involving the famous Riemann hypothesis may finally be close to being solved, and the mathematician connected to the breakthrough is none other than Lee Hak-Sung, the mysterious North Korean genius, now working as a school security guard. The report explains that the solution is still being reviewed by a panel of scholars. Then Professor Oh appears on television and tells his own story. As a child, he once competed in a mathematics Olympiad representing South Korea, while Hak-Sung represented the North. Both young mathematicians were recognized for their extraordinary abilities and received the same special pen from a renowned mathematician. Professor Oh has kept his pen all these years. Gi-cheol sees the report. So does Ji-woo. But while everyone else is simply amazed by the revelation, Ji-woo immediately goes looking for Hak-Sung. He finally finds him and demands to know the truth. Instead of answering, Hak-Sung becomes furious. He orders Ji-woo never to mention the Riemann hypothesis to him again. Meanwhile, Mr. Kim is desperate to solve the exam leak before his own reputation is destroyed. Then a colleague reviews the school's security footage after hearing rumors about a student sneaking into the computer lab. The footage gives Mr. Kim exactly what he needs. The next morning, he summons Ji-woo and shows him the recording. It clearly captures Ji-woo leaving the computer lab with a stack of printed papers. Ji-woo tries to explain that the documents had nothing to do with the leaked exam, but he has no evidence to prove his innocence. From the school's perspective, everything looks suspicious. His sudden improvement in mathematics only makes the situation worse. Mr. Kim offers him a deal. If Ji-woo agrees to transfer schools, the teacher promises not to publicly accuse him of leaking the exam, but the rumors spread anyway. Soon, everyone at school is whispering that Ji-woo is the student responsible. Bo-ram is furious because she knows he couldn't have done it, yet Ji-woo seems unwilling to defend himself. At the same time, Hak-Sung's past is creating problems of its own. North Korea is furious that the South is claiming credit for Hak-Sung's mathematical achievements, especially because his research is connected to military encryption. The National Intelligence Service pressures Gi-cheol to convince Hak-Sung to appear on television and clarify the situation. Hak-Sung's name is suddenly everywhere. Then, an old colleague from North Korea comes to visit him. He tries to persuade Hak-Sung to return home with him, but his real motive quickly becomes obvious. He admits that bringing Hak-Sung back could also help him regain his own standing. Then he makes the mistake of mentioning Hak-Sung's son. The moment Taeyeon's name comes up, Hak-Sung loses his temper. Gi-cheol later visits him to apologize for being unable to keep the authorities away. Despite everything, Hak-Sung remains grateful for all the years Gi-cheol spent protecting him, but Hak-Sung has already made a decision. He's leaving town. While packing, Gi-cheol returns an old document containing Hak-Sung's mathematical research. Hak-Sung had once tried to throw it away, but Gi-cheol saved it because he couldn't accept that something so valuable should end up in the trash. At that exact moment, Ji-woo arrives outside. He hears the argument inside and decides not to enter. Hak-Sung is furious because that research represents the darkest part of his past. He believes his obsession with mathematics and the work contained in those papers ultimately cost his son his life. Because of that, he refuses to appear on television or take credit for the research. After Gi-cheol leaves, Ji-woo finally approaches him, but instead of opening up, Hak-Sung pushes him away. He insists that they are nothing more than teacher and student and refuses to accept the bond they've developed. Ji-woo is devastated. Soon afterward, Bo-ram calls him. She's angry and confused, asking why he is allowing everyone to blame him for something he didn't do. But Ji-woo has already lost hope. He simply tells her that it's over and ends the call. Meanwhile, Hak-Sung reaches the bus station with plans to disappear from their lives. Then, among the crowd, he suddenly thinks he sees the face of his son. The sight stops him cold, and as he stares at the stranger, memories of the night Tae-yeon died begin rushing back. Memories that reveal why Hak-Sung has spent years running from his own past. Hak-Sung's anger is rooted in a painful memory involving his son, Tae-yeon. After getting into trouble while defending other North Korean defectors, Tae-yeon confronts his father. He accuses Hak-Sung of escaping to South Korea for selfish reasons, especially because he hadn't left when Tae-yeon's mother was suffering from tuberculosis. Hak-Sung insists that everything he did was meant to give his son a better future, but Tae-yeon doesn't see it that way. To him, watching his father take low-level jobs and get treated like an outsider is hardly the better life he was promised. Their argument ends with Tae-yeon bitterly telling his father to enjoy his life with mathematics as his only companion. Then he runs away. Desperate to return to the north, Tae-yeon attempts to cross the border by swimming, but before he can reach safety, Border Patrol opens fire, ending his life. Years later, Ji-woo is facing a crisis of his own. Convinced that transferring is the only way to protect himself, he secretly returns home and uses his sleeping mother's official stamp on the transfer documents. The next morning, he hands the papers to Mr. Kim, who tells him that he has made the right decision. But the truth is far from simple. While Ji-woo prepares to leave, Hak-Sung is hiding in a hotel as Gi-cheol desperately searches for him. Gi-cheol needs to take him to the television program, but instead, he receives an unexpected call from Bo-ram revealing that Ji-woo is transferring. Then comes the Pythagoras Award ceremony. Ji-woo is already preparing to leave the school when Bo-ram suddenly appears. She refuses to let him disappear quietly, and literally drags him toward the auditorium, taking his belongings so he has no choice but to follow. Inside, Professor Oh begins the ceremony by speaking about the recently proven mathematical theory, but before he can continue, someone unexpected arrives, Hak-Sung. After freeing his beloved turtle by the river, he rushed back to the school for one final reason. He walks onto the stage and presents his old pen as proof of his identity. Professor Oh immediately recognizes him and welcomes the legendary mathematician with open arms. Hak-Sung is even given the opportunity to speak. He makes a lighthearted joke about his current job as a security guard before revealing the truth everyone has been waiting for. He was Ji-woo's secret mathematics teacher. Then he produces the printed research paper Ji-woo had given him. The document proves that Ji-woo was studying something completely unrelated to the leaked exam, destroying the accusation against him. But Hak-Sung doesn't stop there. He reveals the real culprit. Mr. Kim was the one who leaked the exam to his private students. The revelation leaves the teacher exposed. Humiliated and furious, Mr. Kim walks away from the ceremony. Then Hak-Sung turns to the audience and finally tells them why he abandoned his old life. He defected from North Korea because he wanted the freedom to study mathematics properly. His government had been using his research for military purposes, turning his greatest passion into a tool for weapons and conflict. Hak-Sung wanted something different. He wanted mathematics to help people find better jobs, enter good universities, and create better lives. But his obsession with his work came at an unbearable cost. He lost his son. For years, Hak-Sung carried that guilt alone, believing his choices had destroyed the person he loved most. Yet Ji-woo never judged him that way. Even when everyone accused Ji-woo of cheating, he protected Hak-Sung's secret. He stayed loyal even when keeping that promise threatened his own future. Overwhelmed by emotion, Hak-Sung breaks down and apologizes to Ji-woo. He thanks the boy for believing in him when nobody else did. Gi-cheol has been listening to everything from the audience. For once, he doesn't ask Hak-Sung to appear on television. He simply walks away. Outside, however, Gi-cheol waits for Hak-Sung and offers him a ride. He has one final surprise. After throwing away the smartphone he had previously given Hak-Sung, Gi-cheol reveals a new legal passport confirming Hak-Sung's South Korean citizenship. He also gives him tickets to leave town temporarily, keeping him away from the NIS while the situation settles. Gi-cheol knows he could lose his job for doing this, but he believes it's worth it. Sometime later, Gi-cheol visits Ji-woo and delivers one final gift from Hak-Sung, the famous pen and the first draft of his mathematical thesis. 3 years pass. Ji-woo is now a university student, visiting the prestigious Oberwolfach Research Institute for Mathematics with his classmates. And there, working quietly among the world's greatest mathematicians, is Hak-Sung. Ji-woo spots his old teacher and walks toward him with a familiar gift in his hand, strawberry milk. The two reunite with a warm embrace, and before long, they're back to what brought them together in the first place, talking endlessly about mathematics. This movie comes to an end. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.